Here we go. All right, we are recording. So this is a virtual public hearing. This is the purpose of this meeting is to discuss proposed plans for the consolidated, the 5-year consolidated action plan, as well as our 2020 program year action plan. So we'll do a quick introduction of our team here, and then we'll hand over the presentation part to Seth. And again, you know, we really want this to be an interactive discussion. We want input, questions. You know, I think hopefully you guys recall the last couple of meetings that we've had. You know, the intention is not for us to talk at you and tell you, here's what we're going to do. We really are truly looking for an interactive discussion. So with that, so I'm Crystal Sertic. I'm the Director of Development for the City of Jamestown. And I'll hand it over to Stephanie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Stephanie Wright. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator here for the City of Jamestown. I've been here for about 6 years now. And yeah, I'm kind of the old one here now. And I'll turn that over to Ellen, our newest.
Hi, I'm Ellen Shadle. I am the Principal Planner for Jamestown, and I've been here a week.
And we're very happy to have you. And then Seth Picarillo is again with us. Seth is a consultant that we are really happy to have. He came on at exactly the right time, just right before the coronavirus outbreak, and we couldn't be happier and couldn't have needed his expertise more. He's been wonderful to work with throughout this process. And we really appreciate everything that your experience and your expertise. And with that, we'll let you kind of take it from there.
Thanks so much. And I'm really excited to be working with Crystal's team and be working in the Jamestown community. Let me know if at any point you don't hear me. I had a little bit of an internet issue earlier, so I'm hopefully coming in clear here. Before I start, we did put out a public notice, a legal notice about the action plan is a part of the process. And there was an incorrect link in one of them. It connected to a website that was not correct. The information that we're going to be talking about is the correct information. It's going to be the information that you're going to have access to over the next 10 days. So 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan, our 5-year plan, and our 2020 action plan, our first year of that consolidated plan. It's an exciting part of this process. We're going from gathering ideas, which all of you have had a big part of, to analysis. So we're going to talk with the conversations we've had so far as we take the next big step to submitting our application to HUD. As we always say, this is not a done deal. And this is another opportunity for you to talk about this plan, analyze what ideas and programs we're putting forth. And then you have another 10 days to, even after this meeting, if you want to think about it, you can submit comment for the next 10 days. So on today's agenda, we're going to go over the process again, because that's important. We're going to talk about timeline as we're getting closer to the finish line. We're going to make sure that you know the ways that you can contact the City of Jamestown with your opinions and with your analysis. We're going to go over the HUD funding sources again, what can be funded, what can't be, because that's not always clear, but we want to make sure that you know what we can and can't do with these funds. And even if your ideas or analysis might not be HUD eligible, you know, it's an opportunity for us to look for other opportunities to fund those ideas. And then most importantly for the hearing, we're going to review the proposed objectives for the 5-year plan that have been put forth and the specific program of projects for the year 2020. So the consolidated plan is about setting goals, objectives, ideas for a 5-year period. Then the action plan is the tactical way of spending money on specific programs, specific projects. So that's where we are right now. we're going to keep saying that this is your city, these are your plans. This is an interactive process that is meant to reflect what you think is important for the city of Jamestown. We're at step 5 of this process. We are seeking review. We have already talked to service and community agencies and organizations. We've asked youth for public ideas in our 2 workshops and the survey, and just contacting Crystal and her team. We've consulted with HUD to make sure we know what's feasible and what's eligible. We have put forth a draft version of our goals and objectives in our program of projects for 2020. We are going to have that reviewed by you and the community at large for the next 10 days. And then at that point, we will seek municipal approval of that draft and then submit to HUD for their review and ultimate approval. So today starts the 10-day public comment period. So there's going to be a document for your review that will be available on the Department of Development's website. There will also be opportunities for you to have paper copies, but that's when we say public comment period, that's what we talk about commenting on. Then after that is done, we will submit to HUD for review on September 25th. The ways at jamestownny.gov, you can send a letter. And if you have any questions, you can call the Department of Development at 483-7541. So those are your methods of specific conversation or correspondence. And you still have the opportunity that if you go on the Department of Development's web page on the municipal website, you can complete the community survey that has been set up for this process. So when we talk about HUD programs and what funds the 5-year plan, what funds the annual plan, we're talking about the Community Development Block Grant, which is called CDBG as an acronym. There's always acronyms with HUD. And right now, the allocation that Jamestown receives is $1.1 million. CDBG is the most wide-ranging HUD program. It can fund things like home renovation, which it has for many years in Jamestown, public services, programming, code enforcement. CDBG is meant to be as broad as possible in service of a community. The Home Investment Partnership Program, or Home for Short, it's more prescribed. Low to moderate income people have access to sustainable housing. I just want to check so far. Can everybody hear me okay? We good so far? Okay. All HUD spending has to meet one of 3 national objectives. Benefit low to moderate income persons. In a majority of situations, that's going to be an entire community, geographic. And Jamestown as an entitlement community qualifies as a low to moderate income area. The times where you're going to see specific income requirements is when people are looking for access to assistance to renovate their home or housing assistance. But most often in this situation, that's going to be geographic. The aid in the prevention and elimination of slums and blight, that could be everything from demolishing a building that is unsafe and blighted to helping invest into a neighborhood. And number 3 is to meet the needs of a particular urgency, which usually isn't so relevant, but is definitely relevant this year. A pandemic is, an urgent need. It's an act of God. It's something that is outside of the control of a community, and that would qualify under number 3. So that's important for this year. So 2020 is very difficult for many different reasons. One thing to say that it's fortunate that you're putting your 5-year plan together now, because I think we all know that COVID's impact will be wider ranging for many years to come. And you can use these funds for the next proposed subsections of the 5-year plan that Jamestown is proposing. And I'm going to get more into the specifics of these. We talked about these in the public idea sessions. That's civic engagement prevention, neighborhood strategic demolition, and small business support. You're going to see some of those called funds. That's what they're just classified as far as presenting them as programs. But those are the ways that Jamestown is presenting their 5-year plan as goals and objectives. So we're going to go through what that means in each one of those classifications. Civic engagement, meaning ways to invest in ongoing public participation, civic training, and neighborhood-led leadership opportunities. We don't want the annual action plan or the 5-year plan to be the only time where we have these types of conversations. The great thing about this type of process is you are making decisions and help leading decisions on how funds are spent. We think that makes the most sense when it comes to neighborhood investment. The city of Jamestown wants to make sure that we invest in ways to keep this going outside of these traditional HUD processes. Clean neighborhoods, that's improving the safety and livability of neighborhoods, public work cleanups to include through cleanliness, public health, and quality of life. We heard that loud and clear in the idea sessions. Targeted enforcement, which we talked about in the first 2 sessions. Housing quality assurance, administrative efforts designed to eliminate, better target vacant and abandoned blighted resident structures and properties. Neighborhood investment, which is the largest category in the 5-year plan. That's assisting potential homeowners purchase and maintain prime occupancies of residential tax base, assisting renters and residential property owners sustain quality housing options in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, assisting current homeowners make repairs and improvements to their homes. That's the big one that we heard in the idea sessions. Increasing access to quality public facilities and services. We talked a little bit about youth services and park program in the idea sessions. That would be a classification for that. Reducing the isolation of income groups within areas through deconcentrating, housing opportunities for lower income persons and the revitalization of deteriorating neighborhoods. It's basically making sure there's housing options and quality housing for everybody. Retaining affordable housing quality stock, increasing the availability of affordable permanent housing to make sure that's available for everyone, no matter of their background or their income level. Increase that it's accessible and close to job opportunities. Restoration and preservation of properties of specific historic, architectural, and aesthetic value. We talked about that in the idea sessions. Conserving energy resources, making sure that anything that we're doing is efficient and as cost effective as possible. Assisting homeless persons obtain affordable housing. Assisting persons at risk of becoming homeless. Providing mortgage and financing for low income persons at a reasonable rate. And remediating properties with environmental concerns or deficiencies, which when we're talking about renovating properties, those environmental concerns can always pop out of nowhere, unfortunately, and Jamestown wants to make sure they're ready for that. Lead poisoning, which again, we talked about, collaborating with the Jamestown's government partners to make sure that we are identifying and remediating lead-based paint in residential units and buildings, as we know that has a clear relationship to health issues, especially in old housing stock. Neighborhood strategic demolition. Not all houses and structures can be saved, so Jamestown wants to prioritize administering the demolition of blighted and unsafe structures, including the necessary environmental services and remediation that goes along with those demolitions. Small Business Support Fund. Jamestown as in the past has concentrated in CDBG on small business support. And the COVID funds that were recently received, it did that as well. We want to make sure that that continues. So we want to make sure that we help small business owners make capital improvements to their facilities, make strategic decisions to best adapt to how COVID-19 is changing the face of business. We want to make sure that we help small businesses and community organizations market local commerce, retain and create employment opportunities, which is so crucial right now. Establishing and stabilizing small businesses, including micro businesses, providing public services that will help connect with employment, connect with people to make sure that people with low to moderate income have access to jobs, and to provide access to capital and credit for development activities to promote economic and social viability of the community. So right now, can everybody still hear me okay? Crystal, can you hear me? Okay, good. All right, so if you bear with me, I'm going to switch over right now to an Excel sheet that has the 2020 action plan and the corresponding dollar amounts. So you see the way that Jamestown wants to concentrate its complete 5-year plan. Now we want to show you what the specific 2020 action plan looks like and how these goals and objectives have been converted into proposed spending. Stop share. Can everyone see that okay?
Not yet. There.
Can you see it? Okay. So just again, this is, I know it's hard to see Excel sheets sometimes. This is what's also available for review for the next 10 days. So we talked about neighborhood investment. So the 2020 amount for the neighborhood investment fund and the activities that I talked about is $475,000, $483. Okay. The small business fund is $238,150. I'm just going to say the complete numbers. The civic engagement activities that I talked about, $50,000. The lead poisoning prevention, $55,000. Making sure that there's an assessment and remediation of properties with environmental issues, $55,000. Targeting code enforcement, $57,517. And then administration and the dollar amount that is allowed by HUD at $228,287. So on the page, when you're looking at it, you'll see the home $294,803. Working with community housing development organizations in the community, which are community-based housing renovation organizations in Jamestown, just over $58,000. And administration of these programs at $39,200 for a total of just over $392,000. So that is it. I'm going to now stop share this to go back into PowerPoint. Unless, is there anything that we want to talk about while I have the actual Excel document up? Okay, I'm going to go back to PowerPoint. I'm using the whole Microsoft Office suite today.
I'll just let you guys know while Seth is switching over that this is available on the city's website. We'll share the link, but just want to let you know that it is available for view. And the proposed plan document is also available for review on the website.
Thanks, Crystal.
Yep.
So I think now would be the time to see if we want to have conversation about anything that we just talked about. In the spirit of the 2 workshops that we had, I think it's more important for all of you to talk and to weigh in. So I'm just going to open it up to see if we want a conversation here.
Well, who wants to start?
I think you do. I think you should.
Well, I spent a long time with Crystal this afternoon talking about a lot of things. So I'll try not to be redundant on this issue. And I brought to her attention that the Consolidated application fund site took me to Jersey City. And we hopefully rectified that now, because I don't see the Consolidated 5-year plan being available to us at this point. So I assume that you're going to connect that at some juncture within this discussion, either on the website or basically in some format.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
Doug, and that's my mistake on that public. I was just going to say on that public ad, I was using some standard language on a newspaper ad that I found through the HUD Exchange site, and I didn't unbold or disconnect the Jersey City one. So yes, the City of Jamestown site will connect to the consolidated plan.
Yeah, I don't
That's my
need to
mistake.
hear Jersey City 194-page consolidated funding application. And I understand it can
Yeah,
make
that's completely on me.
okay. Just make sure that the public hearing is valid, so that can be a disclaimer in there. Now, in regarding the activities, my biggest concern, well, not being a concern, it's being a request. We have for a long time neglected home ownership as a model within the city. In other words, we don't really have a homesteading application for people to own homes. I would like to see more of an effort and a financial commitment. When a lady who has considered bad credit because her husband left her and she has a valid job, but she can't get a mortgage because of the credit ceiling that's required, I think it's important that we look at home ownership as a parallel vision regarding what we need to do regarding homes and living and having a place to live. And I believe there's a need for that. And I would like to see it specifically addressed financially within this application. That's one major void that I see here.
I second that.
Well, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
You're
I
welcome.
have talked to a number of women, quite frankly, that their rental cost is almost $1,000 a month. And for a mortgage in a house, and I know of half a dozen houses that are on sale right now that are livable. They need some rehab work,
Yeah,
but they're livable for less than $60,000.
absolutely.
So what I'm saying is that we need to have a vehicle for those ladies, or men for that matter, can go into these houses and be part of a neighborhood and be part of a home ownership plan. We become a city of renters. I know that's necessary, but I'd like to turn that around and make it a city of homeowners. So I'd like to see an opportunity for that to take place. Crystal and I have talked off camera with this, and I think she's on board with it. And I think there's ways that that could be done so that others can take advantage of home ownership and all it has to offer.
Agreed.
Now, I have more comments, but I'll let Melissa interject if she'd like to, or anyone else.
Yeah, no, I really like that, Doug. I actually have talked to Crystal and Stephanie myself about a couple girls that I actually physically know, who are, one's a single parent who she works, she's got 2 kids, and she lives at Charles Street Apartments. She probably pays $600-700 a month for that apartment. And I asked her, if she was ever wanting to own a home, and she said, well, I have bad credit. And I said, oh. And me being the fixer, I'm like, well, how can we get your credit better? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of programs out there that want to help a single mother get her credit better. It's just not out there. And I think that, like you said, there's many homes that are, expensive, or not homes, but rent. To have a nice apartment in Jamestown, you got to pay $600-800, So I agree with you on that one. My one question was about the $238,000 set aside for small businesses. I realize that, Jamestown's always been the backer of small businesses and this and that, but, is there a way to shift a little bit more money to start something like Doug had said, about helping out people owning their own homes?
Well, to hitch on Melissa's comment, we just recently,
That's it.
should I just stop and let you go ahead? I don't know where we go here.
Oh, no. No, it's a conversation,
I just
right?
want to say one thing. Just if I could answer those 2 comments. So the neighborhood investment fund would include things like assisting people with closing costs with renovation of their homes. So there is assistance there for potential or existing homeowners. So I just wanted to point to both Melissa and Doug's point. There is money in that neighborhood investment fund.
Okay, and a part of that. Okay.
But here's the problem with that, is that in order to get a traditional mortgage, of which you're not going to finance through the block grant program, you're going to have two formats. One, for a person to get the down payment, which I'm asking you to fund, and for her to be able to get a mortgage to complete the deal for owning a house. Because what you're talking about, closing costs and rehab, it all is predicated on the ability for somebody to actually purchase a house. So you do not have a vehicle that allows that to happen within this application. And what I'm asking you to think out of the box, to help these ladies who can show you a year of good paychecks, can show you that they're willing to own a house, but they can't get the traditional mortgage because, as you know, the credit for getting a mortgage in Jamestown is about $750. They can't do that. You have to pick up the slack to do that. Not with closing costs, because they can't get the closing costs. They can't get the mortgage. You have to subsidize the mortgage through the down payment and have a vehicle for them to participate in home ownership. That's the bottom
And then
line.
with that money, could that money be recycled? Because it would be considered HUD money?
Yes,
as
Melissa,
they
I
make the
believe
pay-
you're right. And we should be looking at all our programs as a potential for recycling and being more substantiated in the community development process. We shouldn't just spend all the money down. Now, to hitch on your small business thing, the CARES program just exhausted a considerable amount of money for small business.
Right.
Okay, it's been done. So now we're going to reintroduce another funding source for small business. Maybe that's valid, but I don't think so. I think it's in housing that it should be going to, not small.
I do. I agree because when I saw that in there, I thought, man, one time we have to sit back and say, it's time for Jamestown to worry about the housing more than ever. And housing and other things that haven't been worried about. I mean, I get it. Small businesses need money, but man, that's a tough one for me. It's a tough one.
Also, how does small business investment directly correlate to low and moderate income benefit? Unless they're employing low and moderate income people. So a small business
or
owner,
them owning it, unless you're making people that are low income those business owners, and then
you're right.
then that's a whole nother risk.
Exactly. And most small business owners that we have in business now are not low and moderate income.
No.
Would you say that small businesses serve low to moderate income customers?
Well,
No, some of them no. Some of them no, I say. Because low to moderate income people that are on fixed incomes or whatnot work, or a full-time job, but at the resource center. They can't afford to go out for dinner a couple days a week. They can't afford to go to the store down and spend $40 or $50 once a month. They can't afford that because that's their phone bill or that's their internet, and so when small businesses really don't help out low income people. I think that's where I really had a hard time with that when I saw that number was so big on that.
Would you say that small businesses employ low to moderate income persons?
No, because if you look at
so.
most small businesses in the city of Jamestown, how many employees do they have? Not very many. I bet you if you walked around this city and went business to business, there's probably only a couple employees at those small businesses. like hairdressers are probably the ones that employ the most. And I mean, do hairdressers, do they cater to low income people? I don't know. I mean,
I guess one of the things that you should condition with this whole thing is, what is your classifications of low and moderate income? What exactly is the ceiling of a low and mod person in terms of income relating to the impact of block grant programs directly going to them?
is it 12 to 21?
So the way that we were, and Doug, that's a good point. The way that we are looking at small business investment would be that it would be impactful for the entire community, which classifies as low to moderate income.
Well, give me a figure
Instead
of what moderate income. What is $40,000 a year? Is moderate income, or what is it in your analysis?
I'm gonna pull it. Let me just pull up right here.
Also, Doug, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
You can? Okay. Doug, it also depends on the size of the family. So one person can make $37,500 and still be considered a moderate income. And then it goes up about $5,000 for each additional person in that household.
So give you an example, just going back to the housing scenario. If a lady has a job, she has 2 children, her husband left her with debt and her credit rating is bad. Subsequently, she is making $35,000 and she's got 2 kids. She's in the moderate income level of getting some kind of an incentive and some kind of a financial assistance for owning a house.
So I'll
do that. I think you understand that.
Yeah. So just to comment, the Jamestown area median income is $31,875. Okay. So if we're looking at not the family classifications, 80% of area median income would be how we would do low to moderate income. So it's
in that in layman's terms,
it's where the median income is $31,000 for your city.
So that means basically
so
anything under is poverty.
Well, not poverty, but low to moderate income.
Anything under 31,000 is low to moderate.
Essentially, if we're talking about kind of essentially looking at the community now, as Stephanie said, there's classifications on housing depending on how many people are in your household.
Okay, so I just did some quick math, and I did 40 hours a week at $13.75 an hour, brings in $2,200 a month before taxes. So that person's making $26,400 at $13.75 at 40 hours a week. That's not common here.
Not common as in.
Not common as I don't think that many. What?
You think that people make more than that, or
no, less, way less. And I think that so I had mentioned a girl to you and Stephanie, and her husband, her and her boyfriend make like one makes $37,000 and one makes $20,000. So they make like $57,000 a year for a family of 4. So, they're a little bit over, but not much.
I think that the conundrum here is a problem with the identification of low mod benefit. Low mod benefit can be a lot of different numbers depending on the community, but you have to adhere to really what the definition is in the community, and you have to break it down to enumeration districts, which basically are a better count in terms of what impacts are associated with in certain neighborhoods, not wards, but enumeration districts. And I think that's an important caveat in terms of how you determine what your impacts are going to be. So when you talk about low mod benefit, you talk about people, but you also talk about their economic station in life in terms of where they fit within the confines of the city of Jamestown. But HUD doesn't always look at that. They also look at a statewide basis as well. So I guess I want to know, where are you pointing out to the community where the low mod benefit's going and who's getting it?
So there's a couple of different ways that you could do it. So you can go individually numeric, like you're talking about, individual census tracts and census groups. You can also set it up to say that the community is defined as a majority low to moderate income, right? So if you're doing a specific project on a specific street, you want to make sure that that area is low to moderate income, you can do that. You can also offer programs to a city that is classified as low to moderate income, like a housing renovation program or a small business support program. So with the housing, then you would actually do your individual qualification to be eligible. What the city of Jamestown was trying to do was to keep these funds, in order to market them, do it more generally than making it so census block driven. So sure, I'm sorry if some.
No, that's all right. I just had a thought, and sometimes I have to like say it right when it happens. So I just had a thought that if you really want to help low to moderate income people in your small business area with $238,000, and that's the majority of the people that you want to help is low to moderate income, you make that transportation. You put $238,000 into some form of transportation for low to moderate income people to get to work in your first 5-year plan. I mean, 5 years is a long time, but like Doug had said, small businesses just got, I don't want to say a break because they didn't get a break. They lost a lot of money by not being open. But, like I said, when I first saw that number last night, I was like, something else needs to be done with that number. And I think, like I said, if you really went around all the small businesses in Jamestown, there's not a lot of low to moderate income people getting any kind of anything out of that. It's just my personal opinion. But I just, like I said, I think that there should be something else that's looked at besides small business.
So
The only reason I'm not responding is that this is the beauty of a public hearing. It's about what you're, yes. So I just want to, yeah.
I don't know if
my internet's working well right now, but what I was trying to say was, I'm not answering because this is your opportunity to talk. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. One other question I had, oops.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One other question I had about the target code. What is that money spent like as a job, like a job position that could be code enforcement? So with $57,000, you could almost add 2 more code enforcement people? No,
that doesn't even pay the full salary of one benefits plus whatever else.
So basically you'd be getting one more.
Nope. That's funds one of our 3 that we already have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so a question about code enforcement while we're talking about it is, there's 3 code enforcement officers in the city of Jamestown. Mm-hmm. Do they have a specific route that they drive daily or weekly or monthly that they're like, and then when something's reported, so I reported 15 Dexter Avenue, mm-hmm. and they actually got rid of the mattresses and the couches are gone, but it's still really bad, but it's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So is that target code, like, I guess I'm just confused of the whole code enforcement, how it works. And I mean, this is a big city, mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll go backtrack to, I think what your kind of first question was, is do they have a specific route that they take or that they're assigned to?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
correct? So they're not really assigned to a specific area. It's more or less, so there's a couple of things. One is that a lot of the work that our code enforcement officers do is complaint driven.
Yes.
So there will be times where one of our code enforcement officers gets a call for, one number on a street address, and another code enforcement officer may get a call in the same day or the same week for a different address on the same street. So it's entirely possible they may pass each other and wave and say, hey,
Yeah.
That is a possibility. We also do targeted sweeps. So that target code enforcement officer will sit down and look at specific areas that we know maybe need more attention for whatever reasons, and we'll map out when are we planning to do a sweep of that area? What is that going to look like? How much time are we going to allocate to that street versus a different street? So there is some that is more prescribed. But I'll be honest, with 3 code enforcement officers and the number of complaints that we receive on a daily basis, they are reacting as quickly as they possibly can to those incoming calls. So.
Yeah, I saw that number was kind of low, and I was like, oh gosh, that's kind of stinks.
Well, and that's only for one. So, unfortunately, we can't allocate more, but some of that admin, where you see that the 20% admin costs, that helps pay for staff essentially to do.
Yeah, that's what I thought maybe that number was.
And also the Clean Neighborhoods line allows for targeted code enforcement and public works. So while that's not associated to it, nope, that was under Clean Neighborhoods. So under Clean Neighborhoods, you'll see things like Department of Public Works, targeted code enforcement can be funded from that line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's not an easy job by no means.
I've got some comments. I got some more comments unless you're tired of listening to me.
Not at all.
Okay. This is all in good spirits anyway. I got a number of suggestions, and I've gone over this with Crystal, but I'm doing it publicly anyway. I believe the difference between activities delivered costs and also program administrative costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I believe the administration costs should be broken down into those 2 components rather than a block amount of money. And I'll tell you why. It shows more accountability, and it shows more destination of how the funds are going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clear way of indicating to the community and also to the Department of Development that we have these components within the 20% admin. And if you follow HUD's decision-making on how administration monies should be used, that's more or less their accountability measure when it comes to admin costs. So I would suggest in a positive way that those 2 delineations be part of the administration forecast and projection. It is important. Also, I really don't know why, unless you're required to do this, that the CHDO, which is basically under the HUD program, has to be RFP'd. You do that and you send that out, there's additional cost to doing that. So actually the CHDO cost could be part of the internal makeup and part of the Department of Development responsibility under the HUD enforcement and the code enforcement programs. You're not required to do it that way, but you do it that way.
So Chodo, if we're talking Chodos, they do need to go through the application process set forth by HUD. Is that what you mean?
What I'm saying that the CHDO, if you look at the definition of what that is, you RFP that out. And either CRIC or code respond to that. That's the way they've done it in the past. Is that right, Crystal?
Yep.
That's how it's done. So
yep.
you got an X number of dollars that you're having an outside organization do within the home program. It doesn't have to be done that way. You could use those funds internally.
You do have to do the Chodo set aside. That's.
But it doesn't have to go. It doesn't have to go to an outside firm.
You're saying the city to act as a Chodo.
Yes.
Okay. Understood. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. In addition to that, and I talked about this with Crystal, but I want to reaffirm it. In terms of community involvement and engagement, especially that fund that you talk about, Civic Engagement, I think that's a great opportunity to include the citizens in determining what that participation might be. In other words, it can offer like a way for people to learn a little bit more about home improvement, to learn about tool exchanges, to learn about how to paint a house, a variety of things that will allow them to have more pride and civic engagement within their neighborhoods and their community. So you can structure that a lot of different ways, and I would like to see some creativity coming back to that so that the community has their citizens kind of engaged in that particular funding source. So I think that's something you should consider how to do that. It's important that we do that. One final point, the lead abatement program should be directly attached to code enforcement. You must be sure that when you go into a lead abatement program, that a house is in non-compliance to code enforcement. Mm-hmm. It can't be some selective way of going in and just doing a house that's got some lead problems to it, whether it be outside or inside. If they are non-compliant to your code enforcement, we shouldn't be doing lead abatement on a non-compliant house. Those other things have to be hitched or connected to housing code enforcement.
There's one other test that obviously is important, and that supersedes everything. And I think you're absolutely right, Doug. If someone in the house, especially children, if they have lead in their blood levels, regardless of code violation, that would trigger a process of abatement.
No question about it. And we shouldn't be awarding absentee landowners any kind of rehabilitation aid if in fact the house is in non-compliant for lead or a variety of other reasons. It should not go that way. We should be in the business to award very successful people who are wanting to improve the housing of our individuals that either have to rent or, in my case, I'm pushing home ownership. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Me too, Doug.
It's a good story. It's a good, no, those are really, honestly, those are great points, and they're recorded because I think there's a lot of points and things to talk about after this hearing, and all of those are useful.
Are we the only two that's on here? I was hoping you'd have a whole cadre of people out there.
Well, there's other people just.
So, obviously I'm going to re-watch this, but, things that we're talking about are looking at the home ownership component for some more detail, make sure that the home ownership and renovation component is the largest portion of the annual plan. Breaking down the administrative allotment further, taking a look at municipal Chodo. I think, Doug, what you were saying about civic engagement, making sure there's creativity with the civic engagement piece, and making sure that small business investment is completely attached to benefit for low to moderate income people. Does that sound like a fair summary?
It does. I would hitch on one possibility too of having some type of a homeowner's incubator learning place where tools, and even in some cities they have rentals of certain equipment that they can't afford, or it's free as long as they return it, so that a homeowner can learn. I build a lot of stuff, okay? my brother was a major contractor at Chautauqua, and we built a lot of stuff. And it bothers me that people have to hire sometimes something that they could do. And I think it's important that we try to train as best we can. Not everybody can do it. I understand that. But I think there's an opportunity to engage people, to show people how to do something at home that they own, or in some cases that they want to own. And we could create a network of people that maybe could help do some of that and show them how to do that. Now, in some cities, they have, like I say, an actual place where they can go to learn. And we've got a lot of vacant spaces, so why not show them how to learn how to do something? That would be just a thought. I don't know the mechanism right now, but it would be up to us to develop it.
A trade school.
There you go. But a trade school that you don't have to enroll in, you can choose to join when you need it.
Right, right. Learn a trade. Sign up.
Okay. So just as a formality, what I make sure is that we go just talk about the timeline again. Once again, the 10-day public comment period starts now, and then here's the ways that you can submit that public comment. You can take the survey, again, that is on the development department's home webpage of the municipal homepage, or you can email or write in your public comments, and that's something that's open to the community at large. So, Crystal, if there's anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
I have one question before Crystal adds on to her. And are you allowed to do something that makes money that recycles money? If that makes any sense.
So the way that HUD does it is that it would be, let's say, for instance, if a municipality would use federal dollars to loan money. As that loan is repaid, it goes into a revolving loan fund. So that as that money is repaid, it is recycled, and then it can be used in the community again.
Yes.
So that is something that is a HUD standard. There's positives and negatives to that, but the beginning of your conversation was, not just granting money, but to make the money recycle, as both you and Doug kind of alluded to.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is.
I just wasn't sure if it was something that could be actually made money because it's funding.
So with HUD, anything that creates a profit to make sure that the taxpayers are created goes back into the line of credit for the city of Jamestown. So the city of Jamestown will never make money from a HUD investment. It would be recycled through this process in which citizens have a say on how money is spent.
Melissa, you're right on your game again. And I appreciate that comment, and I'll just follow up on that, is that I seriously believe in working in this area for a long time, that rather than spending the money all down in terms of need, and I know there's a considerable need in this community, I'd like to see a kind of a way to reestablish reinvestment of this money to be used over and over again. I know it will be depleted over time, but nevertheless, recycling it, reusing it, stabilizing certain things on a community development level. Because I'm fearful that's what's going to happen with the 2020 census, that the population of the city of Jamestown is going to probably allow it not to be an entitlement community. I hope not, because what that means then is that you go back in the pool of the state funding sources as a small city, and you have to compete for those funds. So if we don't do something to stabilize what funds we have and maybe reuse them 2 or 3 years down the road when the 2020 census kicks in, we may not have any money in the cumulative health block record, not identifying what may be cut automatically anyway. So I would encourage us to try to reuse these funds as long as we can.
Do you think the population is going to go up? Is that what you're saying in the census?
No, I think it's going to perhaps go down in terms of that. I don't know. Maybe it'll go up, but there's a fine line between an SMSA designation, Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area, and an entitled community. And also the service area around it is influenced as well, which deals with what the city of Jamestown does through its Board of Public Utilities. So this all is in the crystal ball. Maybe we'll be okay, but maybe we won't. So I'm just
That's why
saying,
in 2020 we got Crystal.
I'm glad you're thinking that way. And
No
we have a-
pressure.
No pressure at all.
and as Tom Cruise said when Jack Nicholson said to him, "Do you understand that?" And he said, "Crystal." So that's all I have to remember.
Right, Crystal.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you guys for kind of sticking with us throughout this process. I'll echo Doug's sentiment. I do wish that we had a bit more participation, but we understand that this year is a year like no other. We tried to think of all of the different ways that we could get people to engage without having a physical public space to do that. As Seth mentioned, today starts kind of the 10-day comment period. So, there's 10 days to review the information that's on the website. We will take all of your comments that we got today and previously and, continue to look at ways that we can change and, further improve what we've proposed so far. We won't update that until after the comment period because we need, everyone that is going to comment to review what's existing. And then we'll make some additional changes at that point. And then we'll be getting, we'll roll that back out, finalize it. And, this is a process that even once we submit it to HUD and we get our HUD approval, it's something that we can continue to work to improve. And, Doug and I chatted quite a bit earlier, and we want this to be, Seth has said this a million times, this is the community's plan, and we're here just to facilitate it. So, we want to keep the doors open and to keep the communication open and to continue to get the really valuable feedback that we've been getting from both of you and some other folks in the community that have already written in and submitted surveys and comments. So it's really important to us to make sure that we're getting it right, but we do have the ability to, sure, we submit a plan, it's not set in stone. We can always, if it's not working, we can, as long as we're evaluating along the way, which we will be doing, if we're not hitting the mark on something, we have the ability to go to HUD and say, look, this is what we proposed, this is what was approved, it's not working, we need to do something different, and we can change it up. So that is on us. That's our responsibility to make sure that the plan that we do submit and that does get approved is working the way we intended it to work. So, and that will also require some ongoing accountability and some ongoing checking in and checking ourselves and making sure that things are going the way they're supposed to. So I just want to say that that's our commitment, is that we will continue to do that. And I really appreciate your guys' the time that you put into this and your feedback. It's been really valuable. So
You're welcome.
Can I add one final caveat here?
of course.
No, Doug, no.
I like to cook. I can cook like a chef, believe it or not. And tonight,
too.
I'm doing everything you all would like to have. And I wish I could feed you, but you're not here. Can we do? This is another thing.
Okay.
Can we do a food co-op in this city that shows people how to eat properly, shows people the quality of food that is around here, but of getting it? I know we have the farmers market. It's open on one day a week. I would encourage you all to go to Erie, PA, and look at the co-op that's down there. And they create jobs. They have their own food truck. They have a place where people can learn to cook, and they have a wellness aspect to it. So if you want to create a small business, then I think
Culinary school.
we can fill it with people who are low and moderate income, who would like to work, and we can show them a better way and a quality of life. So I would say that what we need in Jamestown is a food co-op so people can utilize what we have year round and be part of that process of living healthier.
So if I could just take that for a quick second, because I have some background in it. Yes, you can fund a food co-op with HUD funds, with CDBG funds. I was part of establishing one. That would come in Jamestown's case, that would come out of that small business support fund in this way. After the small business support fund dollar amount is approved by HUD, you would put out an RFP for a food co-op. So that would be an example of taking that small business support, and then after it is approved, taking dollar amounts from it and designate it for specific things that you'd want. So that's when you see a general line like small business support fund, it's set up to allow yourself flexibility afterwards through things like RFPs. But yes, that's HUD has funded food co-ops in this state, throughout the country. It's an eligible expense for CDBG.
Well, then I think we should think about that and maybe partner locally with the food kitchen, and then also a few other places that would be interested in establishing this, the farmers and the ability to grow. And I can show people how to actually grow all your vegetables and herbs out of a kind of like a rolling raised bed on casters. Okay, that you can move from sun to shade, and that you can put an umbrella type effect so you get everything started and growing longer, so you can have your own herbs to use on your cooking at home every night.
And then we start a culinary school.
Well, there you go. You can be part of that.
I like to cook just as much as you.
I just think it's needed. I just think we have food deserts, but we don't have a final way of dealing with it. And people eat all year round, so we need to show them how to eat better. Yes.
Yes.
See, we've got the next 5 years figured out.
Right?
I'm done. I'm done.
I
wish
thought the
you all
same
well.
thing. I thought the same thing about the food stuff, because it's something that needs to be done. Culinary school, or teaching people how to eat, fitness in the park, the fitness part too, I know that's something that comes after the food. The food is more important than the fitness, but I agree with you, Doug Champ, 100%. 95. No.
You're such a pretty lady. I don't know what to do here now. I want to send you a meal.
Oh, funny.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again.
You're so welcome.
Stay tuned, and I know we'll be having lots of conversation in the future. And again, we appreciate your input and the time that you spent with us. And
well, thank you for your time too. It's not easy. I know. I've done it. So I appreciate all the hard work that you all are doing and trying to do it for all of those that aren't here in attendance, but nevertheless will receive the benefits of your work.
thank you.
Yes.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye-bye.